We are live, we are live, we are live, live. Where did that come from, Gary? Did that used to be an 80s thing?
It was probably some of your dance moves back in the 80s. It wasn't one of mine.
No. I'm just looking if we're live. Yes, I can see me flicking my hair, which means the 20-second delay is on. We are live. So hello, lovely. Did you say one of my dance moves from the 80s?
No, you said it was from the 80s. I said, was it one of mine? And I said, no. I said it was probably one of yours, but it certainly wasn't one of mine.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I wasn't around in the 80s, Gary, of course, because I'm only 27.
Of course. But
I get younger every time I say my age, Gary, I get younger. I'm only 27, 23, only 18. Anyway, hello, lovely YouTuber. If you're watching us live or if you're watching us on the repeat, this is Gary, this is me, Rachel Pops, and here we are with our tea. I've just got a builder's today, just a straight builder's. Yeah. I need a builder's tea this week. Had a week from heckady-doodah, shall we say. Cheers to it being gone, quite frankly. But we carry on, and that's what we're going to do. So we are here, and the lovely Gary today is going to be teaching you, not me today, because I thought today, Gary, we'd do a little bit of mindfulness, and I thought we'd get straight in, because you're going to be collaging for us. Yeah. And I think it would just be really nice to see a pro today doing the process, because I thought if I do it, there'll be paper, paint everywhere, la 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 la. So I thought on this one, I'm going to watch you and learn, and then I'm going to have a go after the YouTube video myself. But I thought, let's just focus on Gary this week and give people a bit of a treat instead of seeing this muppet trying to do something. So we're going to watch you, lovely Gary, in a second doing our collaging today, which is all about we're using the colour green, magazine strips, bits of paper, doing some tearing, cutting, making a tree. Is that right?
We're going to make a tree. Yes, we are. So we're going to make the most sustainable little Christmas tree that you can get your hands on. So just a small little one, just to get started and gets them sort of in the mood for sort of a festive sort of Nordic Christmas.
I should have had my bauble earrings in. So we're going to do that in a second. And if you are watching on the repeat, there will be time codes so that you can skip the mindfulness bit if you would like and go straight to the crafting. So have a look for those below. If you are watching this video, please hit the like button. The subscribe would be lovely. We've had some more subscribers this week. We've had more subscribers, which is fabulous. So please hit the like and share with your friends and get us out there into the YouTube algorithm. It will be lovely. And what's nice, though, is, Gary, we are having some nice comments on our videos. We had one from Sally Uphill last week. I must reply back to her. And she said she thought last week's block that I did, the string block, was very informative, great fun. She was very proud of me that I didn't have a hissy fit when my foot fell off my machine. But she thought it was a really enjoyable video. So thank you very much to Sally. So please do leave your comments below, because we read them and respond to them, and we would love to hear what you think. So the crafting will be coming up in a few moments. Let's do our mindfulness bit, Gary. Now, do you have anything you want to say to me? Because I've got something I can say to you, but you know, last week we changed it around a little bit, and I thought yours was brilliant about the foundling with him. So is there anything?
No, I'm going to save it.
Okay.
No, I'm going to listen to what you're one of your quotes this week.
Well, do you know, I was talking to the fabulous Sarah Payne. She actually came and stayed at my house last night. We had dinner and stuff. And I was saying I've had a bit of a tough week. We all have rocky weeks, don't we? Sometimes you just think, okay, yeah, another punch, come on. And then someone does it from that side and then that side again. And you just sit there going, I can't take any more. So it's been one of those weeks, really. But you know, you do ask yourself, why is this happening? And Sarah said she had seen this thing on Instagram, so it must be true because it's on Instagram. No, it was someone who was talking about exactly this. We have trials and tribulations in our life. Now, this was actually a priest that was coming from their perspective. So they were talking about God. But I think you can put this into any way that you want. Some people don't believe in God, or they have their own God, their own religion, you know, their own you know, who they worship. Or some people believe in the universe. Some people believe it's just energy that creates these situations where you kind of, you know, you get back what you're giving out. Although I feel like, well, I'm putting out positivity. Where's this coming from? But this priest had said, and I think you can relate it to all those areas, that he believed that when we put it out there and say, I need to feel stronger, I need to stand up for myself, or I need to feel stronger in this situation, or I need to, you know, when sometimes you have to learn a lesson, I really need to learn my lesson because that basically, he said God, but we could say it's the universe, puts you in positions where it really tests your strength. Because the first thing is, do you really want to get stronger? Do you? because you've got to make that decision that you want to get stronger, or you've got to make that decision that you really want to learn that lesson. So do you? Because I'm going to send you a lesson. And then the lesson helps you get stronger and you elevate through your life. And yes, you will face another challenge later and you'll think, well, I've already got stronger, thank you very much. But that's because you need to get even stronger until we get to the top and we ascend to the next level and go wherever we're going to go next, whatever you want to believe in, really. But I think it's an interesting concept, and I think it's something to hold on to, Gary, when things are coming at you left, right and centre, because sometimes you can think, whoa, why me? Woe is me. And yes, do that. I had a very hot bath in the middle of the day. As I joked with Gary, I wanted to go back to being in the womb, quite frankly. I just want to sit there in warm water, like, oh, mummy. But, you know, do that. But then it's really important to think, okay, why is this happening? Because unless you're, you know, unless you've done lots of wrongs in your life and you're bleeding karma, it's not that you're a bad person. It's just that there's obviously something to learn. And you were saying something interesting about the moon and flushing things out, Gary. So what's your take on that, my lovely?
All in one go. Well, they do say, because we had this eclipse of the moon, and you know, we've had a conversation about the moon before, and I do think there might be something in the amount of, like, if it can pull energy, if it can pull the seas backwards and forwards, what else can it do? And we had this full moon, and then we had the full eclipse of the moon as well this week. And if you listen to people online and bits and pieces, that they say, you know, this is you know, it's quite a momentous moment. They were saying, don't make hasty decisions at that time. Leave it a good 36 to 48 hours after this full eclipse or this full moon. So tomorrow you'll be all right. I think you'll be clear. But at the time when you think, oh my God, there's all these things going on. And they say that the moon is like, it hides shadows. So what's in the shadows comes when the moonlight comes in, it makes those things in the shadows appear. So there's these things like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting that. I was like, oh my God, has that been hiding there all the time? And now I've got to face it. Yes, because the moon is shining upon it. But don't go running around and running away or doing something really crazy. What you should do is just let it pass. So it's about accepting. It's accepting what is happening. Not nice, but I'm going to go with the flow. A couple of days later, and that's almost like a couple of days later, that 36 hours, 48 hours, it's time to actually, rather than doing a knee-jerk reaction, is actually more of a considered reaction. So if you still, after 48 hours, need to make a reaction, a decision, a change, then it's okay to do it. But you've given it time. You've not made a knee-jerk reaction to something that has just appeared out of the shadows because the moonlight has hit it.
And you know something, listening, I mean, I'm not going to go into what's happened to me, but listening to that explanation, I do think that there have been a couple of lights shed on things that I do need to address. And actually, although one of the things really felt like, oh, well, thank you very much for doing that, I did say to my husband, do you know, actually, I am at fault underneath all of this for what has just happened to me, because I've never learned my lesson. I keep doing the same thing again and again. We've talked about this before. So maybe you're right. Maybe the moon is gone. It's time. And we're going to do it all in one big go. And then you have to look at things. So yeah, it's interesting. But I think you just have to hang on to something, don't you, basically? But always, I mean, I know some people will go, what's jiggery-pokery with moons? But do always look at moons and eclipses, because I tell you something, as you say, if it can affect the sea and pull that in and out, well, then what was? So I really think
the moon, it's a good analogy anyway. It's a good way of looking onto things. You can put the whole energy thing to one side, but if you just look at the analogy of the moonlight shining on things and showing things that were hidden, that does happen to us in life. And like you say, it's happened this week. And the idea is not to make a reaction straight away, but just wait at least 36 to 48 hours, they said. So I think that advice is definitely worth heeding.
Yeah, and you know, on a final note, before we move on to our collaging, you know, just one final word on that as well. I did see a great thing on Instagram again, but it was from a psychiatrist. And, you know, I'm sure people, if you haven't heard about triggers, do have a look at triggers. And it's what things that we get triggered by because of things that have happened in our life. And then when a similar situation happens, it triggers us, and then you have that emotion. And this person said, you know that you're healing when the trigger doesn't affect you and you do sit back and you contemplate your reaction before you react. And that's actually a really good lesson to learn, is to, when you feel triggered, stop Stop. Even if you feel like ringing that person or screaming or whatever, stop, put the phone down, walk away. It's like they say with new babies, when you have a new baby and they're screaming. I remember a midwife saying to me, and this is once again not medical advice, this is not nursing advice or maternal advice. It was a midwife that said to me once, when you are at that moment, when you really feel, and any new mother will tell you, you cannot take any more because this baby is screaming, you're trying everything, you're doing the milk, you're doing the comforting, you're doing the rocking, nothing is happening, you don't know what this baby wants. Put the baby in the crib safely, they can't go anywhere, you know, they're not in any blankets, they're just laying in a crib, they can't move. Let them scream for 10 seconds, leave the room, walk to the end of the garden and breathe, and then come back in and try again. And she said, don't stand there until it builds, because then that's when people get angry. So walk away, everyone is safe, come back. Only for, I'm not talking about coming back 24 hours later, I'm talking about a second, maybe a minute. But just give yourself that time not to react. So there you go. Yeah. That's the mindfulness bit. That's the mindfulness bit. It was good. I do like our little daily lessons. I have to say, I don't know if anybody else gets anything out of them, but you always teach me. You always come back and I go, I didn't think of that.
And you know, sometimes, I mean, everyone calls me a Guru Gary, and actually, I don't even consider myself a guru. These things, where they come from, I don't know. They just come out my mouth. They just
that's divine. It's the divine coming from you.
And it actually, when we have these things on a Friday and we actually think about these things, I'm thinking, oh gosh, yes, you know, it is things that I've observed in life and things that maybe have happened to me, or I've heard, or I've looked on, you know, watched it online or something like that. So yeah, it's
all good. It's all the fabric of life. Right then, Gary, let's get it into our collaging.
Right. Okay. Right, so we're gonna do a bit of collage. Well, I'm going to show you a little bit of collage, and I thought, I mean, I use collage quite a lot in my practice. I like to collage, and I just like the idea of sort of like mixing it up with paints. And so, just to show you an example here, this is a little landscape that I've just created here. So a little landscape, which is basically made up of a bit of a painted background, but then for the land and the sea and the foreground, I've used bits of torn up paper and bits of map and bits of coloured paper to actually then start to become the image. And then I use that. So if I put a little, I just put a little frame. If I put a little frame over there, you'll see how I've used that to start to create an image. But then I take it, by doing that same practice, I can then translate it into fabric. So then I start to then translate, these become like bits of fabric which I've bonded on. So rather than the paper being stuck on with glue, I use fabric and bonding, and I add color paints to the fabric as well, to the background. But I do add bits of newsprint in as well. So there's bits of newsprint in here, and then I will embroider on this. So this is, you can see, this is just a piece of calico, which I just used, just painted, and then I just start to work into it. And so collage is, for me, is one of my go-to practices, which I find really, it's nice to do, it's creative, but also then it's informing me later on when maybe I might move that same image into textiles. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create this little Christmas tree. So I'm gonna do like a Christmas tree shape here. So you're gonna see that I'm gonna create this is in a little Christmas tree. It could become a card, it could be a greetings card, it could just stand on its own. So it could just stand up. You could have several ones, all different sizes, and make a little scene. You could put it on the side of your desk in your office or in your studio, or even on the windowsill at home. But you could put loads of little trees. All of these are different sizes. So I've used a bit of card, but you could use a piece of copy paper or anything like that. And you're just going to use that as your base. That's almost like your template, which you're going to create this tree upon. So I'm going to show you, how do you create this triangle that's sort of an equal size like that. I've just used a piece of copy paper or a piece of card. This is a piece of card, A4 in size, and I'm just going to fold it directly in half. So I'm just folding it half and half, like so. I'm just going to use that. I'm going to put my glasses on. It's terrible. So I'm just going to fold it in half like that. And then with either a pair of scissors, or you can use a cutting blade. So I'm just using a cutting blade here, and a ruler or a quilting square. I am just going to cut from one corner to this corner down here. So I'm just going to cut. So if I draw it, first of all, I'll draw it with a pen so you can see where I am, or a pencil. You can see where I'm going to cut. So I'm going to cut right across there. So I'm going to cut from there all the way up there. There's the fold. I'm cutting there. So I'm just going to use my little blade. I've got a little mat underneath. You might have scissors at home. So you're just going to cut all the way through and just remove those pieces of paper. Now, if we were to open up now, we'd have a bit of a lot. You can see you've got a bit of a lopsided tree. It would go off at one angle. You want it so it's equal, an equal triangle. So you want to square off the bottom here. I'm going to get a better, clearer pen so you can see what I'm going to do. What I do is I just use my grader's little square, like so, and I just center it up at the top here, and I use a center line all the way down, and then either side have got to be equal. So we're making what's an equilateral triangle, really. So I'm just moving it, keeping this line in the center here. I'm just moving it so it's equal across the bottom. And I'm just going to draw a line there so you can see that line there. And then that line, if I cut like so, all the way through, then it becomes an equilateral triangle. Rather than a triangle that leans over to one side, we have a triangle that will stand up and it's equal either side because I've squared off the bottom. So what about the branches or the leaves or the greenery on this tree? Now this is where the collage comes in. So I'm going to decorate in layers. Anything that I can find is green. And so I found some green here. I've got some green from a magazine. So I've got magazine that I'm going to use of this. I'm going to paint some magazine as well. So I've got just a page which I can paint. So I can use that for green. So I can find green in magazine. So I've got this one. So I thought, well, I could use that page as well. So I might tear that out. So I've got that to go on it as well. So that can go to one side. I'm going to just paint some ordinary acrylic paint onto this text. So I'm just going to, because I think rather than just painting just plain paper, I quite like the idea of it. It's found newsprint, it's magazine. I like the idea, the sustainability of it. But then if you just add a little bit of paint through it, you can give that a nice green texture as well. So you can just paint. And if you've got lots of different bits of paper, the green will act differently on different types of paper. So you might have some newsprint, and so the newsprint would be absorbed a little bit different than this shiny magazine. So you can use that as well. So I'm just going to paint some of that on, and I might actually, I've got my hairdryer here just to speed up the process, and I'm cupping it with my hand because I don't want everything to blow everywhere, but I can just blow that. And acrylic doesn't take very long to dry at all. That can work in your advantage, but also can work as a disadvantage because sometimes you want it to stay wet while you're working with the paint. Now, magazine and paper, no one might know, but actually there is, like on fabric, there is a grain to paper. So if you tear one way, it will tear all lumpy bumpy. If you tear in another direction, you'll see that you'll be able to tear nice, quite straight sort of lines. Now, if you take a piece of paper and you just let it curl over or roll, you'll see that one way curls a bit better than the other. So when it curls better than the other, you'll find that you'll get straighter strips, like so, the grain was coming down the page here. Then if I try and tear in this direction, you'll find that you'll just get
no, I didn't know that.
Little lumps.
Yes.
So there's always grain. It's the way the paper's made, and all the fibers of the paper pulp or the wood pulp are all going in one direction. So if you find, once you find the grain, then you can tear nice even strips.
Yeah.
Or different size strips, because you can make it, you might not get them exactly straight, but they'll be near enough so you'll be able to use them. And I'm just really looking for the green. So when I'm pulling a strip, I'll probably only use a little bit like that because I just want the green. To there. Same with the painted paper. Now I imagine because it comes from the same magazine, that's in the same direction. So I can just tear some strips off them. And what I like about torn strips is you get this nice little like furry edge. You get a little bit of white showing as well. So you can use that. So that's quite nice. And I quite like the decorative approach. If you really get into collage, you can mix up like torn edge and cut edge and do all sorts of things with that and play around with that. And if you look online, there's a whole following of collage fodder, it's called, people that just love creating stuff in collage.
Yeah.
So do take some time to have a look. Right, so we've got a load of like little strips of green here for our tree. We've got our tree template here, which one I'm going to use. They're both the same, so I'll use this one. That one's fine. I've got a Pritt stick or a glue stick here. And basically, you're just going to, a bit like last week when we did our strings block, we're just going to put a piece of glue across and we're going to just start layering the green, almost like right to the edge. At the bottom here, don't worry, you want it to go over the edge, you want it to drop off the edge, because we're going to trim back once we've made the once we've done the layers. So we're going to trim it back. Then once you put one layer, you can put another layer and mix up the colors, so you've got different colors. It doesn't take very long, and then just build it up, making sure you find the green rather than finding other colors in there. And just keep layering up. Might use a thicker bit here, like so. A little bit more bit more print, which has got the paper on and the print and the like that. A bit more. You can see how we go. We're going to just layer up till we get to the top. And if you like, there's a bit particularly that you like on the bit that you're using, you can always like just tear it off the side. If you've got that bit there, you can take, well, I can use that as I get towards the top. So you need less and less, obviously, as you get to the top. Put that in there. Another bit. Now, I'm sure you could have done this, Rachel, but I know that you were right up against it today. And I said, I'll do the whole thing. It'll be fine.
Yeah. But actually, I think it is quite nice sometimes just to watch you. I mean, I'm enjoying just watching you do it, because you can really kind of focus on what you're doing, really. But I am quite jealous. I am sitting there going, I'd like to be doing this sticky bits.
So I can still, once I've even tear the strip, I can tear the strip again. And what you could consider is really having some of the really white little edges that could almost resemble little bits of snow on the branches of this tree.
Or even fairy lights wrapped round or something. Mm.
But you can see how we're building up, so it doesn't take very long. This is so quick to do. By the time you've done one, then you can do another, and then, as I say, you can start to create a forest. I'm going to pop. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that one off. I'm going to put this little bit of more yellowy green before I put the green on the top, like that, because that looks quite nice. We're nearly getting to the top. We're nearly there. Right, bit more. Oh, there's a bit. Let's put that in there.
I think it's always important as well, Gary, with these sorts of projects, to just keep going, because I think some people would look at that and then they'd start to overthink it and think, oh, well, that's not working. And it's like, no, you have to see it through.
No.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. So I'm nearly there. I'm nearly at the top. I've just got a little bit of green that I'm going to just pop on the top up there. So that can just go up there like that. Okay, right. So now you're going to flip it over and you're going to trim. You can do it with the scissors or you can do it with a blade, but you're just going to trim. In fact, I might use my rotary cutter because it's due. My rotary cutter is due for a new blade for fabric cutting. So once I use it on paper, I will have to change the blade, because using paper with your rotary cutter is going to blunt it, obviously. So you're going to put your ruler or your little quilting grader square up by the edge, or just, in fact, it's just over the edge of the white paper underneath, because I do not want to cut through my folded piece on that. I just want that to be slightly proud like that, because if I cut through the fold, the whole of the tree is going to fall apart. It's not going to be able to be stood up anymore. So you don't want that to happen. So I'm going to just cut through this bit here. Here we go. Oops. Yeah. The top of the tree. I lost a little bit of my tree here. Okay, right, clear the decks. So here's the start of the tree. So it's a very stylized little tree, so lots of stripes on there. And then you can think about, well, what you're going to decorate on the tree. So what have I got? So I did get a little bit of foil, like that. Just use foil. You could use like sweeter wrappers and stuff. And I thought, well, we could start thinking about decorating for Christmas, and we could make like a little star. So I've got a bit of scrap bit of card, really. I'm just going to stick with my Pritt stick. Where's my Pritt stick gone? There it is. Put my Pritt stick on. put that on like so. Stick that down. On the back, I'm going to draw a star. So if we want to draw a star, it's 2 inverted triangles, 1 triangle that way, 1 triangle that way. I've got a star, paper, scissors, or a knife, and you're just going to cut that star out. I find that sort of like the easiest way to make a star, rather than trying to get too geometric with a compass and ruler and stuff like that. So I just cut it very loose, little stylized star, like so. That can go on the top. You know, if you're at home with you've got your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, or you've got young
just about to say the same thing. It's such a great
activity. So you get, it's so easy for them to any age, any person could do this and have a little bit of fun. In here, I've just got loads of little like fun little sequins. You could have some stars, things to stick on, and there's your opportunity to start sticking on little baubles. If you haven't got anything like this, like sort of sequins, or these like little, they're all different sizes, sequins and gold and silver. If you haven't got them, another idea is what you could do is get some silver paper or some really brightly colored paper and just use your hole punch. So if you can find a hole punch in your office desk or at home somewhere, you can just put some nice colored paper in there and just keep punching away, and then you get like 101 confetti that you can then just decorate onto your tree. So I'm just going quite quick here and just put in this is very much a Blue Peter make, I think. If no one knows what Blue Peter is, it was my go-to as a child. It kept me entertained for hours. So yeah, there we are. So I'm just putting on a few more balls. There we go. Right. So there we are. That, I don't know how long that took me, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yes.
To make, and if you have several of those, you can have them all lined up on your mantelpiece or on your desk or something like that. And it's the most cheapest, accessible, sustainable little Christmas trees or Christmas tree that you could create. Easy peasy for anyone.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Just a really simple little project that you could get on with.
Yeah, and I tell you something as well, it's always nice when you do receive something that is handmade, or people always appreciate it. So yes, I think that is that's a lovely thing, actually. In fact, I was just going to say, don't want to bring the tone down, but at my father's funeral this week, somebody had put something in the writing to be read out that before my dad passed away, that one of the grandchildren had handmade a get well card, and that he was very touched by it. And I thought, I'm sure he would have received lots of cards, but to get a handmade card, it does make a difference. So I do think, little Christmas cards like that. And as you say, just get the grandkids round or the kids round, and you all sit there, tear sheets of paper, a bit of paint, bit of glue, stick it on. Fantastic. You could just do a family of cards, can't you?
Exactly.
And Christmas cards and Christmas cards are so expensive as well to buy. So good fun. And the thing is, what you've done there is that you've given people some ideas and techniques, but people can take that much further. If you wanted, you could even, I'm just thinking, you could tear those strips and then you could wrap them around a cocktail stick and make them into little springy things, and then they could on. So you can sort of think of all sorts of things, can't you, that you could do to accentuate it. I love the idea of like you say, the hole punch, the sequins. You could just get the glitter pot out and glitter the front of your tree. I mean, look at me. Exactly. If only I was doing it here.
But so you could decorate this as much as you want to, a little as you want to, or as much as you want to. You could bling it right up, loads of bling, loads of sequins, or you could keep it quite natural and you could have more berries on it and things rather than blingy sequins. It's entirely down to you. And imagine, like, if we made several sizes, so we've got, where's that other? So if I was to then think, well, we could have one that's half the size. I'm going to just cut that one. So we could have another one here, another little one. You can have one which is like slightly even, like just a little bit smaller, and you could have one here. So you could have several all lined up as a little cluster, and I think that could look quite fun as well.
So like as a decoration almost. Yeah. Very good. We like it. The thing is that these exercises, yes, they are. I mean, obviously that was to make something. You'll see my string block there, look. And Sarah Payne, when she came to stay last night, she's a proper quilter, of course. And I said, have you seen my string block that I made? And she went, you didn't make it. I said, I did. I said, if you watch the YouTube video, you'll see me. And she was like inspecting it. And I went, don't inspect it too closely. And she went, you know something? So that is your first quilting block. I'm so proud of you. And I was like, thank you. And she's got a book out and everything. So, you know, it was so
Are you sure it's not
go on, what are you going to say?
You sure it's not a pamphlet?
No, it's a book.
It's a proper book. It is.
Sarah Payne has got a proper book.
It's brilliant, and it's a really good book as well. So yeah,
it's for beginners.
And if she thinks, wow, how did you do that? What did you do? And didn't believe. Yeah, exactly, Rachel. Really good.
But it's all down to the teaching, is our lovely Gary. But as you say, with all of these exercises, it is about having fun, and it's about playing and taking your mind off. If you've had a tough week, it's about taking your mind off that and just doing a crafting activity. As I say, we were out today and she just said, I want to do a pottery class, and she wants to actually throw the clay at the wheel, and you know, that would be amazing. It's just down the road from us, so I think we might do that together. And you know, it's about just, you know, as I said, you made your jewelry, and it's a lovely thing to do, to take a class and to learn something new and to escape for a while. But equally, if money is tight, rip up some magazines, you know, get a Pritt stick from you know, your local stationer, and just start playing. I mean, that paint, you get some kids paint, you know, the poster paint stuff. Top tip as well, if you want to make your poster paint thicker and deeper in color, we add a bit of corn flour.
You remember? Yes, you do.
I do. That was in our money saving tips. Also on our tea time tutorials, you'll find it in the channel. So yeah, so you know, then you get the deeper colors. So you don't have to buy lots of tonal colors. You just buy one color, make it, you know, watery or not. So
exactly. So you can add a little bit of corn flour to it, and it just makes it thicker, so it go on, and it will probably cover better. But well, so if you've enjoyed that, I thought maybe next week we might do another little sewing project.
I've missed out on the art. Now I have to go back to the sewing. Okay.
So I like to mix it up. You know, I like to do a little bit of artwork, and then we do a little bit of sewing, and just keep it fluid, keep it moving.
Okay.
I think we're doing a little bit of hand sewing. I don't think we need to get the sewing machine out and get you on your hands and knees as things start falling off of it.
So like last week, the foot fell off. Like the whole foot, not just the whole foot. The whole thing.
The whole thing came off. And next minute we've got you on the floor, and then trying to get it back on. But we got there. We did get there. And that is not put me off of challenging you with the sewing machine again, because in the future we will have ones. But I think next week, we'll do a little. Again, it might be festively themed. I like this festive thing. I like
the festive thing. We are getting closer and closer.
Yeah. So and I just think it's quite nice. Going back, now this is all, you know, just making things for Christmas and that. You know, we were so used to just, I think recently, over the last few years, you know, you just buy your Christmas in. Well, maybe this year we don't. Maybe we create this Christmas. Maybe we create things, and it becomes part of the entertainment, building up. And that's what I remember as a kid growing up back in the, you know, when I was a young lad, I was in the 70s. And again, we were in a very similar situation as we are now. You know, money was tight. And so I used to quite enjoy the making and towards Christmas. That's what I used to enjoy. So maybe we can just introduce a little bit more of that. So as I say, next week, you'll be receiving one of my special envelopes in the post, which has got
I love those.
A little bit in there to do a bit of sewing.
Lovely. Okay, let's do it. It's a date. And for anybody else who is watching this, do have a look in our playlist. We've got tea time tutorials. We've got so many in there now, Gary. I was looking the other day and I was like, wow, we've done a lot. So there are so many, and different crafts to try for you, different lessons, different bits of mindfulness. But as I say, they're all time coded, so you can skip the mindfulness if you're not interested, go straight into the crafting. And also as well on the rest of the channel, of course, I always say this, we have got, if you are more of a professional sewist, we have got lots of lovely sewing videos from some of the best sewers out there, blocks and projects to make and all sorts of things. Gary features as well. He makes some wonderful things like brush holders and scissor holders and all sorts of things. So do have a look at the rest of the playlists. As I say, if you could like and subscribe, will be wonderful. We do have a buy a coffee section for £2 if you'd like to donate to the channel, because let's face it, you need about 900,000 people watching to get any money from YouTube, and we have about 100. But we love every one of those 100. But if someone would buy us a coffee one day, it would be lovely. So we'll see. We live in hope.
It'll make our day, won't it, Rachel?
One day is going to press that button. They're going to press that button. I'm going to be so grateful. They bought us a coffee. How exciting. We're like winning an Oscar. So there you go. So you could buy us a coffee, but please do at least like the video. That would be nice. And leave any comments below. We will happily come back to you and we'd love to see them. So thank you so much, lovely Gary. Have yourself a very nice evening. And you out there, if you make some Christmas cards, share them on our Instagram and social media platforms at Crafty Monkeys. We've got at Gary Mills Designs. And if you want to take a class with Gary, do head to our website, CraftyMonkies.com, because Gary has regular art classes with us once a month on a Wednesday for £15. And also as well, he's got in the video library loads of videos that he's done for us, full length 3-hour classes, sewing projects, art projects, the whole lot. So do have a look at those on-demand recorded classes, because you can literally go, buy, click, and be watching within 20 minutes of shutting this video down. And then you could see one of Gary's lovely classes and craft along with him. So there you go. Right then. We shall call it a day. I have to press the end, but we always worry, Gary and I, don't we? Always press end. And then we sit there going, are we off? Are we off? Just in case. Keep our fingers crossed. Are we ready?
We're ready.
Say our good. I don't think we've had any comments today. We've had viewers. I can see we've had viewers, but no comments today. Yeah, thank you very much, everybody, and thank you to Gary. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.